Being a landlord is not for the faint of heart, but it can also be a profitable experience. If you're thinking about renting out your home or an investment property, make sure you watch this video before handing over those keys. The right tenant can mean passive income and peace of mind, while the wrong tenant could cost you time, money, and stress. So let's talk about how you can find the best tenant for your property. So the first step is to make sure the property is in great condition. Make sure it's professionally cleaned, freshly painted if needed, with all of the appliances and major systems in working condition. The next thing is to clear any of your personal belongings out of the property so that the new tenant can feel like as if it's a place of their own. Next thing you might want to do is consider staging the property. It is amazing what a few simple touches like a teapot or some towels or flowers or even shower curtain can do to make a space feel warm and inviting. The next thing you want to do is to create an engaging listing for your property. You want to list all of the features and benefits of the home. You want to highlight the property's best features and put it on popular platforms like Zillow, HotPass, and even Craigslist. Also might want to list a property with a realtor who might have a more expensive network that they can send a listing to. They can also market your property online and also in the multiple listing system. Then you want to consider just leveraging your network, sending it to your email list, posting it on your social media platforms, posting it to family and friends, and just getting the word to anyone you know that could possibly know someone who's looking for a property. You can even have an open house where you have a number of potential tenants coming to the property at the same time and they're looking at the same time, or you can have a more personalized experience where you have people coming at 15 minutes at a time to look at the property. You can have a sign-up sheet there where you can collect information like their name, their phone number, their email address, and you want to follow up with any interested people immediately right after the open house. You also want to have a rental application where you collect the person's name, their social security number, date of birth, their employment history, their past rental history, who would be the occupants of the property, if they're going to have any pets, and any other pertinent information that you will want to know about your potential tenant. Once you have people that have seen the property and are interested, then you want to start your application process. You also want to be sure to get a consent for a background check, and you can use sites like rentspree.com to run credit, background, and criminal checks on potential tenants of the property. You also want to use this period to gather pertinent information from potential tenants. You want to collect their state ID, or if they have a passport. You also might want to collect pay stubs, bank statements, and W-2s to confirm proof of income. So what are you looking for in that perfect tenant? Well, you might be looking for someone who has a history of paying their bills on time, has a history of paying their rent on time, somebody who has a good rental history. Maybe they stayed at other properties for a long period of time and their past landlords have really great things to say about them. Somebody who might have a long-term employment history, or someone who might be getting a specific income from a certain place where it's steady. Some people are getting child support, some people are getting support from the government. So you want to consider all of those things when you're making a decision. Now, keep in mind that there are some situations that people go through a number of things. They might have lost their job, they might have divorced, they might have had a number of reasons why they missed payments in the past. So you want to consider all of that before making a decision. That's why I'm not someone who always goes off of credit scores when I make a decision. I will look deeper into the tenant. I will call their past landlord. I will ask questions just to kind of understand the person's situation before making a determination. So you need to understand that there are fair housing laws and there are protected classes. You cannot deny a tenant based off of certain things. You cannot deny a person based off of their sex, their color, their race, their family status, if they have a disability, their national origin, or their religion. Just know what the laws are in your state. And most states have like a landlord-tenant handbook that you can review so you and the tenant can know what your rights are. So what are some valid reasons why you can deny a tenant? If someone has poor credit history, a number of evictions, they have a number of excuses why they can't give you certain information, they can't provide certain IDs, or they can't show certain proof of income, those are all reasons that you can deny a tenant. I want you to make smart, non-emotional decisions. There are tenants that always have problems, the world is against them, this thing didn't work out for them, that thing didn't work out for them, and you just want to be very careful before putting them in your property. And there are people who are professional tenants. There are people that come with a lot of baggage, a lot of drama, and you just want to be careful before you put them in your investment. Also, you want to make sure that you have some type of financial reserves so you're not making a desperate decision, and also that just in case if you have a tenant that starts to miss rent for a couple of months, that you can carry the property without losing it. Unless you can afford to be generous, don't waive rent or make any special exceptions, and make sure that everything that you negotiate is in writing. So the next thing to do is to draft a lease. And when you're drafting the lease, you want to be clear on the terms. You want to know, is it a 6-month lease? Is it a 1-year lease? Is it a 2-year lease? You also want to put in a lease if you're going to do any type of property inspections throughout the lease. You can do it semi-annually, or you can also do inspections quarterly just to make sure the tenant is maintaining the property. You also want to have a clause in there that if there are any leaks or if there are any type of repairs that come up, you want to be immediately notified so that you and the tenant are on the same page and that you can get those items repaired. You also want to make sure that you give your tenant ample notice before going into their property during the lease agreement. You also want to mention that you're going to be allowed to show that property 30 days before the lease expires so that you don't have to end up with a vacant property. The goal would be to find a tenant before this person's lease expires. You also want to clearly define who's going to be living in the property so you don't have to deal with overcrowding issues. And if you are in a condo association or within a homeowners association, you want to present your tenant with those documents so that they're aware of what the expectations are for living in that community. Lease agreements can be signed electronically or in person. You just want to discuss with the tenant and see what works best for the both of you. Also, you want to make sure the tenant fully understands the lease agreement before it's signed. Once you have a move-in date, you want to collect the security deposit and the first month's rent at that time. If it's somebody who has challenging credit or has a challenging situation, you might want to consider collecting 2 months rent, which is the maximum rent that can be collected in some states. You also want to go through the property with the tenant and have a checklist, because you want the tenant to return that property to you in the same condition that you provided the property to them. That's why I always recommend taking your time to get the property ready, because you want to get it back in that same condition. If there are any defects, if there are broken blind, if there's a scrape on the floor, if there's a scrape on the wall, anything like that, you and the tenant want to document that, and you can also take a picture of that. You can also consider getting a home warranty, which will cover the property if there are any electrical, heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and mechanical. Some landlords decide to have the tenant pay the deductible, which is anywhere between $100 to $200 for each repair. Or if the landlord has built that into the rent, then the tenant gives the landlord a call, and the landlord now sends somebody over to take care of those repairs. You want to make sure the tenant immediately notifies you if there are any issues with the property. Then you'll go ahead and give the tenant a copy of the keys, and then their rental journey will begin. What has your experience been in the past? Have you had good tenants? Have you had terrible tenants? If you have a terrible tenant story, share it in a comment. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And also let me know other videos that you want me to share. I'm Montane Okoye, and I'll see you in the next video.